Hello, fellow peasants. Today I'll be reviewing 2022's Terrifier 2. Okay, guys, so I watched Terrifier 2. I usually go right off the top with my reviews, but I want to get some things across. I'm afraid I'll miss the points I want to make, so if it looks like I'm reading off notes, it's because I am. Usually I just make the shit up as I go when I do these. I don't have anything pre-written, pre-planned, but it is what it is. All right, so Terrifier 2 came out in 2022. Its runtime is 2 hours and 18 minutes long. And basically it takes place 1 year after the events of the first Terrifier. And you're following this girl named Sienna and her brother Jonathan. And she wants to go to this nightclub and party on Halloween with her friends. But she ends up being terrorized by Art the Clown. And there is a clash between them. There's a battle at the end between those two. And it seems like her dad's drawings, her dad died, and before he died, he had all these messed up drawings, and these drawings were like kind of like predictions of the future. Like some of the drawings in there are of Art the Clown, and some of the kills from the first film. So, all right, but the idea of the story is Art the Clown is back 1 year later, and he's terrorizing this young girl. Okay, what did I like about Terrifier 2? Well, I liked more variation in settings, the school, the theme park, the houses, the nightclubs. The first Terrifier was very much like you go to the pizza diner and then you're in the abandoned apartment building, warehouse thing, whatever they were in the first film. And that's it. The first film was pretty much 2 locations. Not that that's a horrible thing, but for how little, for what little was going on in the first film, it was very like, okay, like, can we see something else? You know what I mean? Can we see something else? There's not a whole lot happening here. You need to stimulate me somehow, I guess. If you're not going to have great dialogue and great storytelling, like, you know. So I do appreciate they switched it up this time. There's a lot of different settings going on here. You really get more of a feel for the world that you're playing in here. Next, it follows the events of the first film. Feels like the same world. Yeah, you know, it just carries on 1 year after the events of the first film. You even see people watching the interview that takes place at the end, or the interview that takes place at the beginning of Terrifier 1. You know what I mean? Where the chick's face is all mauled off and this and that, and then she kills the news reporter. So this jumps right into basically the beginning. Terrifier 2 is the beginning of Terrifier 1. So it's nice. It follows those events. Feels like the same world. You know, you're like, okay, we're not completely changing everything about it. It's a whole new setup. Number 3, kept the cinematography style the same for the most part, except higher resolution. Yeah, so they were for the most part, they were pretty faithful to the color grading, the camera angle work that they did in the first film. It still felt gritty, but it didn't quite feel like you're watching a shitty ass DVD. Like, there was something about the high contrast, the just crushed blacks, in the original Terrifier that it just had that like DVD look to it, even though it wasn't a DVD. It was, you know, clearly I watched it on Blu-ray. But this film has that look for the most part in terms of the color grading and the camera angles and just the settings, like the way that the sets are designed and all of that. It's just, I believe this film was shot at 4K. There is a 4K release for this. I believe it was shot in 4K. I could be wrong about that, but I do think it was. At the least shot 2K, and the 4K is a upscale or something. But it was shot at a higher resolution, I believe, than the first film was. And you can tell there's just a more polished look to this. The blacks aren't as DVD crushed blacks as the first one. You can see a little bit more detail in the darker spots of the screen. As we're in the first one, it did have, you did lose a lot of detail in the shadows, which is what gave it that old school 80s 90s slasher look to it. And I think it lost a little bit of that in this. The production value is just a little bit too good for perfect continuity. Next, I like the acting. The acting was better in this than the first film. I thought the first film was like, it wasn't that great. It wasn't bad. Like, the acting in the first one isn't horrible, but I feel like Terrifier 2 did a better job at acting. Yeah. The kills, the costume store, the bedroom, the friend killed in the park with the nail bat, great practical effects. Yeah, the kills in this are just beyond gnarly, just beyond gruesome. This is probably the most violent movie I've ever seen, I think. Some parts were so violent, and I'm someone who, like, keep in mind, guys, I've been watching slashers. I've been watching B-rated dog shit slashers since I was 11, 12 years old, 1998. You know what I mean? And there were even parts in this film, even for me, that I was just like, damn, dog, like, that's a bit much. That's kind of fucked up, Shit. Entertaining, but still just like, damn, you really had to go there. But yeah, the practical effects were really good. I think that's what makes it so graphic, is the practical effects are so good. Kind of unbelievable in a way. Some part I'm like, okay, anatomy doesn't work like that. You couldn't just do that. You couldn't rip that off that easy, or rip that open that easy. But even though the physics of what they're doing sometimes are far-fetched, the imagery of what they're doing is like, fuck. The attempt to have more of a story with Sienna's family, although I have questions about Sienna's dad and her connection to art. Yeah, I like that they didn't just do a run and chase, chase and kill slasher like the first film. They kind of were like, okay, like let's put a little bit more story in here. So you've got this girl Sienna whose dad died, who's drawing these pictures, and there's like some mystery behind this sword that she has. Like some magical sword thing going on, and I like that there was more of like a story here. You cared more about the characters in this film. Like in the first Terrifier, I was just like, okay, I've known these girls for like, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes before everything pops off. It's like, I don't know why I care that much. Like in this film, yeah, the runtime is long, but I feel that gives you time to give a shit about the characters in some weird way. It's kind of like, do I think the film is too long? Yeah. But I think that the runtime also helps you learn to love characters that you normally don't get the time to do in most slashers. Most slashers are like 85-90 minutes, and you don't get the time to care if they live or die in a lot of the times. Okay? And I do have questions about their connection to Art the Clown, like her dad's connection, like his drawings and the sword and how that ties into Art the Clown. Like, I have questions about that. And number 7, my 7th is I like Sienna and Jonathan as characters. I cared if they lived or died. Rare for a slasher. Yeah, I cared if these kids died. Like, I actually gave a shit. Most of the time, a lot of times, I'm cheering for the fucking slasher when I watch these things. I'm like, kill that bitch, he's stupid. Kill him, he's a fucking idiot. Like, you know, I'm usually cheering for the killer because the characters are written like they're total fucking morons. And here I was like, wow, I actually give a shit. I think these kids are cool. I think they've made some decent decisions. They're not completely stupid. And like they gain your respect and they just seem like nice people. So I cared if they lived or died. And then I have a mixed section. Things that I didn't like, but I'm willing to forgive until I see the third film, because hopefully we get more answers, okay? So my mixed things are why he chooses Sienna to haunt in dreams and kill. Why not last year during Halloween, if there's a special connection between the two. Yeah, so like, if there's some special connection between Sienna and her brother and her dad and Art the Clown and these drawings and all of that, why didn't Art the Clown come after her the year prior? Why was he attacking those girls in the diner and wasting all his time with that? If there's some sort of like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, type of like manifest destiny clash that's bound to happen. Like if they're like sworn enemies, I don't know. It's kind of like why go after her now? You could have done it last Halloween. Why you trying to kill these random bitches? And number 2, no explanation for the sword, her dad's drawings, and his connection to art. Hopefully, number 3 answers this. Yeah, like I really hope that they explain this shit in the third film, because right now it just feels like they just kind of threw some stuff in to make it a little more juicy, a little more interesting, give it a little more mystery. And it's cool, it's interesting, but it's kind of like, you got to explain this, because right now it's just kind of like, it just feels thrown in. It feels so random. The little girl clown, I don't know what was up with her. That's another thing I'm kind of mixed on. Like, I don't even know what that was. The little clown girl in this, it's kind of like following them around, and she picks up Art's head at the end and like walks off with it. And I'm like, I don't know what role you're playing. Like, is she a demon or something? Because like I've read on Reddit that Art's a demon who comes from hell to do shit. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. The film never like specifies any demon stuff. So let me know down in the comments below if Art is a demon, if that's been proven somewhere. Because there's a lot of supernatural shit going on in this movie. So if he is a demon, that makes some sense. And my dislikes. The final act drags on like the first film. Yes, the final act in this is just, he chases them. He gets a hold of them. They fight. There's a struggle. They either kill him or he comes close to killing them, and then they break free. They wander around a bit. Then they clash again. It's just kind of like, we did this at the end of the first film. Let's just get this shit over with. I'm not a big fan of this catch and release, like final acts in these horror films. Like, you can do that like once. You can have them catch up to the villain, or the villain catch up to them. They have a confrontation. They get loose, and then you can have. But when it's happening like 3 to 4 times in one final act, it just feels like, oh my god, you're milking the shit out of this. Like, can we please just end this movie? Because he would have fucking... to be fair, Art the Clown is brutal enough. There's no reason why they should have got away after the first couple times. Like, he's massacred and murdered everyone else so brutally. I don't know. It's just plot armor to just let them go multiple times when he could have just killed him. He's powerful enough to kill him. They're not superhuman. They're not supernatural like he is. He could have killed him, wiped his ass with him, and been done. But he didn't. And it's kind of annoying that it keeps going on like that. And then number 2, the length of the film. It's half an hour too long, I think. I think you could trim this film down. I don't mind it being longer. Okay, like the first film was about an hour, and so, right, hour and a half, hour and 24 minutes, I think, or something like that. And this film is 2 hours and 18 minutes long, guys. 2 hours and 18 minutes. Like I said, I don't mind it being longer because that gives me time to care more about the characters. But at the same time, 2 hours and 18 minutes is a lot for a slasher. Okay, it's a lot for a slasher. I think if they'd have cut this right at the 2 hour mark, let's knock a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes off or so. Let's, somewhere in that ballpark, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, let's just say. You shave that off, shave that down a bit, and I think it would be a more impactful film. And a good chunk of that you could take out is from that third act where they're just playing tag half the movie through this theme park or wherever they're at. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, my final verdict is that I liked the film. I liked it more than Terrifier 1, actually. I felt there was more meat on the bones here. There was more to dive into. I am interested in this sword and her dad and the drawings and how that ties into art. Like, I want to know more about Art the Clown's past. I want to know where he came from. Like, what the fuck's up with this guy? I am interested in it. Because like I said in my review for Terrifier, I would prefer that Art the Clown be a human being. I don't like that Art the Clown is supernatural. But now that we're here, and he is supernatural, I'm just kind of like, well, while we're here, explain it. I'm interested now. I want to know. So I'm excited to go watch number 3. I'll see if I can find a screening of it. I'm not sure when it comes out this year, but I would like to go see it if it's in my area. I think they do like select theaters for these things. I don't think these are as wide release as normal films, I don't think. But I'm interested, guys. I'm interested. I want to see number 3. I really liked number 2. I thought number 1 was good, but just kind of bland, just a little boring, in my opinion. And to be honest, when this film first started, when Terrifier 2 first started, I was about 10-15 minutes in, and I thought, this is fucking garbage. Because the dream sequence was so random, and just like, I'm like, what is going on here? This is kind of goofy. And then as the film went on, I was like, okay, this is making more sense. And it earned my respect. So I like Terrifier 2, badass slasher flick. I'm starting to like the Terrifier franchise more than I did. Like I said, I had seen Terrifier 1 multiple times before I watched it this last time and wasn't digging it a whole lot. But I'm starting to like it. It's starting to grow on me a bit. So there you have it. I liked it. I'm ready for number 3. Let me know down in the comments below, guys, what you think about Terrifier 2. Have a good one, peasants. Peace out. Bye-bye.